Hey fellas, how's it going? Welcome back to BTM, to the Basketball Time Machine, the podcast with former NBA players about former NBA players. Before we get to today's guest, just a little reminder, if you want to hear more podcasts like this one, just make sure you hit that subscribe button so you always get notified once we upload a new podcast. All right, so let's go. Today's guest is not only an NBA champion, but a Finals MVP, an ABA champion, and an 8-time NBA All-Star. Rick Barry, great to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Rick, as a kid, did you have a favorite NBA player?
I grew up as a big fan of Elgin Baylor.
Oh, yeah, what a great player. Was it his flashy playing style, or what did you like the most about him?
Well, I liked the fact of his aggressiveness going to the basket, the way he had body control and could change the shot in midair. And I actually, in college, used to go out and I used to practice that, making shots where I could pull the ball back and trying to have a diversification of the way I can get a shot off. And I got that from watching Elgin Baylor.
Did you have a key moment when you realized, hey, I might have a shot at playing professional basketball?
Probably when I was in college. I had a great coach, Bruce Hale, who was a former top NBA player, pro player, and back in his day. And I had the opportunity to have the head guy from the Lakers, a guy by the name of Lou Mose. Lou came and was visiting University of Miami to scout our center, a 7-foot center named Mike McCoy, who was kind of ahead of his time. He was a 7-footer who loved to be able to shoot from the outside. They didn't do that very often back in those days. They usually played in the post, but he played outside a lot and could shoot the ball really well. And afterwards, there was a story, and somebody asked him what did they think about his prospects. And he said, well, I'm not really sure about McCoy. He says, but I can tell you right now, you got a sophomore. I was a sophomore at the time. He said, Rick Barry is going to be a great pro basketball player someday.
Oh, wow.
Well, that made me feel pretty darn good.
You were drafted in 1965 by the San Francisco Warriors, being the second pick. Back then, the draft day wasn't that big media event as it is today. Can you tell me what you remember of the day of the draft? What do you recall?
Yeah, well, it wasn't anywhere near as big, and they didn't pay you as much money either. It was a totally different world back in those days. So I remember just getting a phone call. I got a phone call, somebody telling me that the Warriors drafted me, and then I wound up getting a phone call from the general manager. I think his name was actually Bob Ferrick was his name, calling me and telling me that I was drafted, and and so that was it. Nothing.
Were you
more
satisfied being the second pick?
Yeah, I didn't really give much thought to it at all. I mean, I probably should have been the first pick, but
yes.
But in those days, they had a coin flip, and it was the only time it ever happened in the history of the league, where the two worst teams in each conference flipped the coin, and the winner picked first and fourth, and the loser second and third. The Knicks won, and they took Bill Bradley, of course, Princeton being nearby, knowing full well he was going over to be a Rhodes Scholar, wasn't even going to be available to play. And then the Warriors took Fred Hetzel and myself, and so, the second and third picks are irrelevant. I don't know if they would have taken me over Hetzel if they only had one pick or not, to be honest with you. And then Dave Stallworth from Wichita State was the fourth pick. So that's the only time that ever happened in the history of the NBA.
Your rookie season was incredible. You averaged 25 points, 10 rebounds a game, and you make the All-Star team in your rookie season. Were you nervous going to your first All-Star game?
No, except I fouled out of it, though.
Wow.
I fouled out of the All-Star game in my rookie year, so that was kind of weird. But yeah, no, I didn't think a whole lot about it, to be honest with you. I just played. I had confidence in my ability, and I think I did something that was unique that I take great pride in, is that I was one of the few times ever that a player who was a rookie actually made the first team All-Pro, which I did.
Absolutely. And you weren't excited about playing with one of the guys that you actually, during the season, you got to compete against?
No, I was excited. I was ecstatic. I was ecstatic about being able to go. I mean, I got to play against all these players that I had admired. I was excited every time I put on my uniform to get to play against all those great guys. And so the All-Star game was just something a little bit extra special in that regard.
Nice. In your era, there were some of the best players to ever play the game, NBA legends, like, for example, Wilt Chamberlain, Oscar Robertson, Bill Russell, yourself. At that time, who would you say was the best player of that era? I'm just curious.
Well, there's no such thing as the best player. I don't know why everybody wants to say that all the time. Like they're saying, oh, LeBron's the best and this guy's the best. You have to go by position. In any team sport, when you have positions, you have to go by positions. The skills required to play certain positions are a little bit different than all of the other positions. And so it's the guy who actually is the best at his position. And so, that's the way it is. I mean, right then you could have had a debate about, Duff, Chamberlain, Russell, Thurman, great players in those days playing center position. You had West and Oscar and some of those other guys, just great players. I have a picture from the '67 AllStar Game. Actually, I think there's,
nice.
I think there's 7 or 8 players in the picture, and every one of them is a top 50 player. It was pretty remarkable.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You played in an amazing era. Many people say the 80s were the golden age of the NBA, or the 90s were the golden age, and the younger generation believes today's the golden age of the NBA. I sometimes have the feeling that your generation or your era sometimes gets overlooked.
Well, it does, because they really didn't get a chance to see it. And I keep telling, people say, oh, you guys, you couldn't even hardly have a time playing today. I said, are you kidding? I said, if we had all of the training that was available to us, all of the sophistication, the special diet, all of the things that these guys have going for them, every player there, I know myself, I would be stronger, quicker, faster, more endurance, jump higher. I would be so much better a basketball player if I had everything available to me that they have available to them from the training standpoint, the sophistication of it. So it's foolish for people to make a statement like that, because all of us would be that much better. Plus, I think most of the players back then, a great many of them, had a far better understanding of how to play the game properly than a lot of players today.
Oh, yes, I feel exactly the same way. To me, it always looks like, I have a hard time to watch nowadays basketball, but I always feel like that most of the players today rely too much on their athleticism and not actually knowing how to play the game the right way.
Well, I agree wholeheartedly. I think that a great many of the players playing the game today get by on sheer athleticism, but there are a lot of guys playing there that they're in the league because of their amazing athletic talents and abilities, but they'll never be as good as they should be because they don't know how to utilize those talents to the best efficiency possible and the best manner possible, because they don't understand necessarily how the game is played and the way it should be played. So it's one of those things that people get caught up, in the times, and they see all of this stuff going on. Oh, wow, isn't that great? I say, yeah, but the thing is that he should be better. A lot of these guys should be better. Not all of them are LeBron James, who has a great natural feel for the game, or Steph Curry, Kevin Durant. But a lot of these other guys that are there, they aren't as talented as those guys, and they don't have what I think the differentiation is in the game between a good player and a great player. Great players have a natural feel for the game that can't be taught. I tell people, I can teach you how to pass. I can't teach you how to see.
Oh, yes, that's a very good point. Coming back to your second season, you really kicked it up a notch. You averaged 35 points a game and carried your team to the NBA Finals, where you averaged 40 points a game. And you were only 22 years old. How can you stay humble performing at such a high level, being 22 years old, and how's that even possible to stay humble?
Well, it's not about. I just played. I love to play. I played with an aggressive offensive mentality, and whenever I got the ball, I was looking to create something offensively and attack, and I was going to try to find a way to get a shot, provided I didn't have a teammate in a better position. If a teammate was in a better position, then he was going to get the ball. And I think that's the way that you should play the game. And if everybody played the game with that mentality, the game would be a lot more fun to play. That's one of the reasons why the Warriors have been so successful and so good, because they play that way. When they get in trouble is when they stop playing that type of basketball, when they do a little too much of the one-on-one that we're talking about here. It's not the way the game was designed to be played. Pass, move, cut. As I say, my father was a semi-pro player and coach, and he taught me the game really well and gave me the foundation to build upon, which are the fundamental principles and concepts. And one of the things that you learn early on is that the more decisions you force a defense to make, the more the likelihood that they will make a mistake, and you can capitalize on that if you have players who know how to play the game properly.
Okay, so what team is your favorite team to watch? Your favorite team of all time that you really enjoyed watching?
Well, I love watching the Celtics when they played. Certainly, watching the Showtime Lakers was fun to watch them. I enjoyed the teams I played on because we play the game that way, and I love watching the Warriors now.
All right. When we talk about the Celtics, we're talking about the mid '80s Celtics, or what team are we talking about?
Yep. Well, no, we're talking about the originals. Even the Bird teams. Yeah, they also played the game the right way. So there's, a lot of people doing the right things out there. No question about it.
All right. So from 1968 until 1972, you played in the ABA. To the younger folks, there was a second league next to the NBA, the crazy ABA. Was it difficult for you to adjust to the new league?
It wasn't difficult at all because it was an up-tempo type of thing. We played that up-tempo style when I played, and so it was one of those situations where I just played the same way. In fact, it was a little bit more over the perimeter with the three-point shot, obviously. And so, it was not difficult at all to make the adjustment. If you know how to play the game, it's not difficult to play the game anyway. But I mean, it's pretty simple. It's not very complicated. There's only 5 guys on the floor at any one time. So, I mean, how complicated can it get? It's not like you got a football team with 11 guys out there. So it's just a matter of knowing how to play the game and going out there and doing that and having fun in the process.
I heard so many crazy stories about the ABA. I was just wondering, was the ABA really that crazy?
Yeah, it was. It was really insane, actually, to tell you the truth. I mean, it was a lot of Bush League stuff. There was hardly people out there. I mean, it was insane. Nutty things going on, just crazy stuff happening all the time. So, but everything's an experience in life, and I never look back and question the things that I did. I just make the most of the situation that exists, and you accept it, and you move on, and have a good time enjoying life. And everything happens for a reason in life, and it's crazy what happened in the ABA. I experienced it. If I had to do it over again, would I do it? Well, the only thing I tell people, I said, if I could know, because I say everything in life happens for a reason, I have the most amazing wife now, and my youngest son, that I wouldn't have had if it weren't for my having done that. I've never met her, probably. And so if I could have that and have the friends and everything I have and had stayed in the NBA and played, I would do that. I wouldn't have left the NBA because I think it hurt my reputation.
Wow.
I left and played in the other league. I wound up getting hurt, and that had a big impact on what I could do on the floor. I would not have gone to the ABA without question. I would have stayed in the NBA and played there and had all of those years there, and I think my reputation would have been a heck of a lot different.
Interesting. When did you come to that conclusion?
Well, after my experience with what happened with the ABA, I mean, it's horrible. I mean, one game we had more people sitting on the benches and at the scorer's table than we had in the stands.
Oh, gosh. Really? Pretty interesting. Your last season in the ABA was Dr. J's first season in the ABA. I was just wondering, did you hear about him before he entered the ABA? Was he known before he even had his rookie season?
Oh, well, no, you can just watch him play. He's one of those guys, had the great feel for the game, had the amazing athleticism that he had, and the things that he did were special. And Doc, to this day, is a very dear friend of mine, and have great respect and admiration for what he accomplished in the game.
When you returned to the NBA, you played for the Warriors, and you guys had a loaded team. I mean, Nate Thurman, Jeff Mullins, and I think you had like 5 players who averaged double figures. How do you guys make that work, having 5 scorers on a team?
Because you just play, just like the Warriors do. I mean, it doesn't matter. You don't care who scores, as long as you score. I remember one time when I played with those guys. Nate Thurman wasn't on the team when I went back to the NBA. Actually, it was Clifford Ray who joined us as our center. But I remember one time when I was early in my career, and I was playing. We went to Chicago, and back in those days, they didn't have the charter jets and all the other stuff. I remember, we played 4 games in 5 nights in 4 different cities. One of those one time was the AllStar Game in San Francisco when I got MVP. We played Thursday night, Friday night, off Saturday, played Sunday afternoon, and Monday on the road. So it was kind of crazy. But I remember we were playing in Chicago, and it was like our 4th game in 5 nights or something. And the guy said, "Rick, you got to carry us today. We're dying." And I said, "You guys are telling me you want me to shoot more?" And I said, no problem. So the irony of it is, I think I wound up scoring 49 points in the game, and we won on a tip-in of one of my missed shots by Nate Thurman. So it was crazy.
All right, correct me if I'm wrong. That team had potential to win the title, right?
Oh, without question. Actually, we came within 2 pick-and-roll plays with Nate Thurman and me, with Will Chamberlain, that if those pick-and-roll plays had gone our way instead of theirs, we might have won. We lost in 6 games. Those 2 plays could have been the difference in us having victories as opposed to having lost the game.
But in 1975, you finally won the title. In an insane season, you averaged 30 points a game, 6 assists, 6 rebounds, and almost 3 steals. To me, your best season. But you didn't win the MVP that year.
I think it was Bob McAdoo, yeah. And he was a great player. I like Bob, great player. But I had a heck of a year, and our team won, and our team won the championship. So anyway, but I got the MVP of this championship series, which is nice. But the biggest thing is we won, and that's why I play. I play to win.
Yeah, you swept the Bullets in the finals, who had a sensational season. I mean, they won 60 games. They had an incredible team. They had Elvin Hayes, Wes Unseld. How was it even possible to sweep such a good team?
Well, because we were a good team, and we were a better team at that time of the season. We didn't win as many games in the regular season as they did, but there's no doubt in our mind we thought we could beat them. It's still, to this day, the biggest upset, I think, not only in the history of the NBA, without question, in the finals, but I find the team who was as big an underdog at the start of the season as we were. We weren't even picked to make the playoffs. And to wind up not only winning the championship, but winning the championship by sweeping a team that was supposed to sweep us, and what everybody said was one of the biggest mismatches in the history of the finals. So you can't find anything in any sport as dramatic as that. And I challenge anybody to do that, and nobody's come up with an answer.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you retired with the Houston Rockets, right?
Yeah, I retired with the Rockets. That's the burial ground of the Barrys. Tell me what the chances are to have 2 other boys that play pro basketball, to have 2 of my other sons find up being their last season is with the Rockets.
Yeah, that's insane. Did you have a key moment when you realized that it's time for you to retire?
No, I didn't want to retire. I actually had a knee operation at the end of the season, and I hadn't felt so good in 10 years. And I finally had no pain. I could actually bend my knee. I could do things I couldn't do before. And so, unfortunately, that's the year to show you the difference. They changed the roster from 12 players to 11. To save money. And I had the Celtics. I was going to go play for the Celtics, and they were willing to have me, but when they made the roster change, they didn't want to do that. So that was the unfortunate thing. I would have loved to have continued to play because I had never felt that good in 10 years.
All right. So in 1996, you were named as one of the best 50 players to ever play the game. Is that the greatest accomplishment in your basketball career?
No, I'm most proud of having been on a championship team. All the individual awards don't mean anything. You don't play for individual awards. You play for championships. And so those things are just kind of like the icing on a cake and the decorations that go with it. But the cake is what you want, championship.
What a great way to end the interview. Rick Barry, thanks a lot for being on the show.
Hey, great to talk to you. Happy New Year to you.